are live at Fantasy Farm Sports. We are talking Eagles. Who doesn't love the Eagles? Eagles,
Oh,
baby. It is going to be a fantastic season, and they are champions. How does it feel? Liam Sagarian, how's the Eagles being champions feel?
when the Eagles won the Super Bowl this past year, it was quite simply the greatest day of my life. I was obviously there for Super Bowl 52, which was amazing. Their first Super Bowl win 7 years ago. You beat Tom Brady and the Patriots. Amazing. You get revenge for Super Bowl 39. But what felt different about this one was one, just the understanding of like, okay, we've been a team that has now been respectable for, I'd say, the past decade. We've had our chances, we've had our bites at the apple, but now we've gotten that one out of the way, and it's time to really assert yourself as a dominant franchise. I attended Super Bowl 57 in Arizona
Ooh.
when the Eagles lost to the Chiefs. It was the greatest sporting event I ever went to, despite the loss. I mean, it was a great game, 38-35. I got to see Patrick Mahomes in person. It was an amazing football game. I just didn't end the way you wanted it to. And of course, the finality of it being the Super Bowl absolutely breaks your heart. I didn't go to New Orleans for this one, but the revenge and the absolute domination, the satisfaction you get from beating a team that would have been considered the greatest core dynasty of all time had they three-peated, just nothing really compares to that. I was shedding tears halfway through the third quarter. It was just an unbelievable day. The parade was unbelievable. The feeling, the emotional high, we're still going. I'm good for the next 10 years. If they want to go 0-17 this year, cool by me. Everything's good, man.
Huge blowout though, right? Like it was 33 nothing.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, you
34
were
nothing.
sitting there. What was it?
34 nothing.
34 nothing. I mean, they absolutely. You were sitting there. You almost turned TV off. You almost turned the television off.
Oh well,
You
I
you
was I,
couldn't.
I was standing I was standing in the Dick's Sporting Good line with time on the clock. Like I had driven my family home from my mom's house and driven back to Dick's Sporting Goods all in the fourth quarter just because the game was in hand. And of course, I get my hat and I get all my glasses and my shirts, and I got my Jalen Carter jersey that finally got processed after a couple months. And yeah, everything's great, baby.
Everything's great, baby. All right, so that's backwards. Let's talk about forwards. Let's talk about you had a prediction of the Eagles season for this year.
Sure.
Let's have it. Let's go game by game.
All right, let's do it. So obviously, week number one, it's the great. I mean, we talked about it last week. I
It's
couldn't
the
ask for.
greatest game ever.
I couldn't
It
ask
really
for much
is
more.
though.
I couldn't ask for much more. It's amazing having Dallas week one just to have Dak and Jerry and company watch us drop the banner. I mean, it's amazing. Yes, they have five. We have two. Again, they have not competed for the right to compete for a banner since before I was born. So I'll leave it at that. I've seen the Eagles in 7 NFC Championship games. I've seen them in 3 Super Bowls. I've seen them in 4 Super Bowls, and I've seen them win 2. So keep coming at me, Dallas fans. I don't care what you had back in the 80s.
L or W?
Absolute resounding W,
Right.
probably by 7 to 10 points. I always say week one's weird. I don't like calling outright like mid-season form sorts of blowouts. I do think that the Eagles are markedly more talented than the Cowboys. You get them at home. You never get them early in the season. You're getting them with a brand new coaching staff that I don't really like. I know you do, but yeah, I'm thinking that that's going to be probably like a 30-20 type of game, and we're off, baby.
Okay. All right. So Philly scores the first touchdown.
Uh, yeah, you gotta give the fans what they want.
Okay. All right. Philly wins week one.
Philly wins week one, opening Thursday night.
Now we will talk about spreads later on.
Okay,
All right.
cool.
W. Philly week one. Okay. Moving on. Eagles travel to Kansas City. Talk to us.
Let me paint a picture for you guys.
I love it. I love the
The
paint pictures.
the interconference cycle used to be that you play the interconference division every 4 years because there's 4 divisions. So you would play if I'm just using Eagles and Chiefs as an example and using the year 2020.
Sure.
How it used to go before the 17th game. I would have them in 2020 at home, 2024 in Kansas City, 2028 back in Philly. If you meet in the Super Bowl, you meet in the Super Bowl. With the
Okay.
advent of the 17th game, and you get that other divisional rotation with the same seeded or with the same top seed, or I'm sorry, how am I trying to word that? With the you play who finished at the same seed in their division the previous year, just like you do in the intra-conference. That's what the new cycle works. So the Eagles in 2021 played the Chiefs at home in week 4. They lost.
Yeah.
The Eagles in 2022 played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They lost. The Eagles in 2023, coming off that Super Bowl, they played in Kansas City. They won on an interception by Kevin Byard, of all people. The one play that Kevin Byard made that when the Eagles traded for him that year, and obviously,
Can I give you a secret? Let me pause you right there.
do it,
Ask me my brother's name.
Kevin.
That's my brother's name. What's my dad's name?
Byard.
It really is.
Let's go.
I can't make my brother's name is Kevin. My dad's name is Byard. You can
Byard
continue
Neary. What a name.
because
What a name.
brother, I tell my dad, I go, you and my brother are playing on the same team. He goes, well, what? I don't even really watch these teams. I go,
He was good
Kevin
in Tennessee.
Byard.
He was good in Tennessee.
I was like, Dad, Kevin Byard, you're a monster together. He goes, okay, sure. I don't really. Go ahead. Kevin Byard.
Kevin Byard, he seals that win in Kansas City, and that's when Nick Sirianni's running through the tunnel. You like that, Chiefs fans? And I'm just like, oh, brother, like, unbelievable stuff. That's 3 years in a row that you're playing an interconference team because you met them in a Super Bowl, right? And then you met them on the one-seeded cycle. Because the original year is when we played the AFC West as an entire division. 2024, you play them again in the Super Bowl. You win. So now the Chiefs have won the first 2 in this 4-year stretch. We've won the second 2. We won after the Super Bowl loss in Kansas City. This game again is in Kansas City. Finally, again, back to the cycle of when we're at the interconference cycle. So we are going to get the Chiefs 5 years in a row when you wouldn't otherwise have played an interconference team twice in 8 years if you didn't meet them in the Super Bowl. So we're about to get the 5th year in a row, and the Chiefs are going to win this one just like we did after the Super Bowl loss. The Chiefs are going to get their revenge too. But and this one's at home, so Andy Reid's not going to get to go through the crowd and be like, "Take that, Eagles fans," who used to be his fans at one point. I mean, he wouldn't do that anyway. That's kind of like a Nick Sirianni thing. But what's funny is in 2017, here's another factoid for you. In 2017, when the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, they won week 1. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on who they beat in week 1. But they started that year 1-1. And that week 2 loss was to the Chiefs. So I'm telling you, we're playing them for the 5th year in a row. We've placed them in 2 Super Bowls in this 5-year stretch. Each of us have won 1. We've lost to them in week 2, the year that we won our first Super Bowl 8 years ago. It's really crazy. But the Chiefs are going to win this one. I said,
are they?
I said all
Is that
of
what's going to happen?
I said all of that just to say that the Chiefs are finally going to get their comeuppance for this round.
But you gave us a lot.
It's a lot to chew on. I mean, there's
right now.
It's legitimate history. It's legitimate history here for 2 interconference NFL teams that you don't see rivalries for interconference NFL teams. You don't really see rivalries for any interconference teams except for the Lakers and the Celtics.
You're right.
So the Eagles and the Chiefs have formed effectively and organically the first interconference NFL rivalry, at least of this century.
All right, so we both have Eagles losing
1-1,
1 1.
just like they did in 2017.
All right, and next game, let's go. Let's have it.
Next game is home against the Rams. It's a 1 o'clock game, meaning that the Rams just in week 3 are playing an effective 10 a.m. game in their own time. I always fade road teams, like West Coast road teams playing a 1 o'clock Eastern start. I mean, that's
Yep.
just a betting thing. I think a lot of people do that, but in this case, I mean, we saw it
Smart.
last year. The Eagles boat raced the Rams in LA, and of course that game in the snow and the playoffs was close. It was amazing. Matt Stafford's another year older. I think Matt Stafford's awesome. I think the Rams' weapons are great. Obviously, I think they have an amazing coach, one of the best in the sport. And Jared Verse, I got a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for Jared Verse. But I just think that the Eagles match up really, really well against the Rams. I think their offensive line matches up well
In
with
this
the
case,
defensive line. I think
in
the
this
Eagles wide
case,
receivers match up very well with the Rams secondary. And I think that the Eagles defense overall pretty much matches up very well with the Rams. The Rams don't have much of a rushing attack. I know Kyron Williams, in my opinion, is a pretty overrated player. I just got to be honest. I think he's an overrated player. I think he's a lot of talk about like, oh, he a very scheme versatile type player. Fine. McVay can make diamonds in any sort of rough, kind of like Shanahan if he really wanted to.
so Kyron Williams is an overrated running back.
I think Kyron Williams is a pretty overrated player. And I
Oh,
and I think the Eagles defensive line crushes the Rams offensive line. I mean, the Rams offensive line is not good. The Rams running game is not good. And if anybody's going to be able to contain an aging Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, it's the dudes who are actually, very, very young and very, very good and contained Puka Nacua enough last year.
it's fantastic. So 2-1, and you just earned yourself a visit to our fantasy football, not league, but discussion. Say Kyron Williams is an overrated running back.
Yeah,
Okay, that's gonna have to be a 10 to 15 minute. Are you good with that? You gonna come back?
I'm good.
Okay, all right, because that's gonna have to be a discussion to let everyone else know that hey, why is Kyron Williams not good? Not gonna develop? Not gonna. It's a big deal, right?
Well, I didn't say he wasn't going to develop. I just don't really see it with him. I mean, I don't see the greatness that everybody tries to bestow upon him. He's a Ram. At the end of the day, he's a Ram. He's not Todd Gurley. He's not what Todd Gurley was. He's 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 just a Ram, and you're going to get enough spotlight for being a chess piece for McVay, and you're going to get enough spotlight just being in LA, even if football is kind of meaningless in LA as it is. But at the end of the day, he's just a Ram.
I mean, Travis Etienne, like, oh God, that he's fallen off, right?
ETN, I was high on ETN coming out of college, but he's never really found the ground in his NFL career.
Not very good, right? Maybe 1 year. You sit there and you go, Travis, not so much,
Whatever it
right?
was, 2 years ago or whatever, when he was, he had a lot of explosive plays, but yeah, I mean, it's just he kind of just has never panned out and never really consistently was the running back that you thought he was going to be coming out of Clemson.
All right, so we Rams, Eagles, 2-1, right? That's how we're moving on. Eagles travel to Tampa. Tell us about it.
This is another one that's kind of weird because we always get Tampa early in the season, and it always seems to be at Tampa. Actually, the last time that the Buccaneers played in Philadelphia, Tom Brady was the quarterback. It was like a Week 6 game. I think it was probably the oh god, I don't know. I guess it would have been it was probably the Super Bowl year, the 2022 original Super Bowl year. Although I could have that
Yep.
wrong. I think because I'm pretty sure it was coming off of the playoff loss. No, you know what? I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not gonna pretend like I can remember it off the top of my head. It was either the year after we lost to the Bucks in the first round of the playoffs, or it was the same year. It
Yeah.
might have been that same year in 2021,
Yeah.
or 2020. I don't know. It all runs together at this point. But that was the last time the Bucks played here. So that means that Baker Mayfield in his tenure has never faced the Eagles in Philadelphia. We played them a couple years ago in Tampa. It was either week 3 or week 4, just like this year, and we won
Yeah.
25-11. It was a weird game that the Eagles won 25-11. Their defense showed up under Sean Desai the one time it ever really showed up under Sean Desai, except for that Dolphins game too, when we kind of crushed the Dolphins on Monday night. But um, we obviously play them again in the playoffs that year as we're sinking and as the Bucks are kind of on the come up, and they spank us. And then you go back this past year again. It was week 4, and it's sweltering heat down in Tampa. It's unforgivingly humid and sweltering heat down in
It
Tampa.
gets hot
And,
down here.
and the Eagles were missing their guys. They were without AJ Brown. They were without Lane Johnson. They might have been without Devontae Smith this past year too. We get beat again. They beat us again. We're 2-2. The sky's falling around Sirianni, and we just proceed to march our way to the Super Bowl. So just like in 2017, the Eagles start 1-1 with a week 2 loss to the Chiefs in Kansas City. They go on to win their first Super Bowl. They win their second Super Bowl, losing in week 4 at Tampa Bay
Okay.
in the sweltering heat. They go on to win their
Yeah.
second Super Bowl. So while the Eagles are now going for their third Super Bowl, they get to do both of those things. They get to lose at Kansas City in week 2, a la 2017, and they
Okay.
get to lose in Tampa Bay in week 4, a la 2024, and they're off 2-2, and they're going,
And they're,
and they're
and
going
they're
for it.
off,
They're
baby.
off.
And
I
they're
mean, it's a perfect scenario. I sent the draft of my schedule over to some of my friends, and they were like,
okay.
and they were like that loss at Tampa is so on brand, but it's so infuriating. I was like, guys, I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to spin this into a positive. Just know I'm spinning the weeks 2 and 4 loss into a positive, because we've seen this story before in the exact stadiums, in the exact weeks, in the 2 exact years that the Eagles have won Super Bowls in the 59-year history of Super Bowls. I'm not saying that it's fate or destiny, but that's exactly what I'm saying. All right, let's move on.
So L
2-2.
2-2. Okay. So, but you're right though. You're right. That this is how it matches up. It looks right. It shouldn't be. Philly gets stronger from this. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
2-2.
You know what? Last year's 2-2. The tone is going to be so different. Last year's 2-2 was the sky is falling after the
That's
collapse
right.
from the year
Yeah.
before. We're going into a game against Cleveland that we barely eked out. Sirianni's yelling at the fans. Is he on the hot seat? Well, I mean, certainly he's not on the hot seat now. He just signed a multi-year extension. Yeah, I mean, nobody's ever gone from week 5, could this guy be fired, to then winning the Super Bowl like 11 weeks later. It just doesn't really happen. It just doesn't really happen.
So let's do this. The Eagles beat the Cowboys, but then they lose to the Chiefs, and they beat the Rams at home, and they can't beat the Bucks, and they have the Broncos at home. Are the Eagles even a good football team this year? Tell me.
I think they're going to smoke the Broncos. I think I liked what I saw out of Bo Nix, his rookie year, and obviously Sean Payton's an
Yes.
awesome coach. But I just think Bo Nix's first time in Philadelphia, obviously, which hopefully he doesn't have to come back for another 8 years, unless he gets that 17th game cycle. We already went over this, but if Bo Nix comes into Philadelphia his first time and puts a working on Vic Fangio in this defense, then I'll be mightily, mightily impressed. I don't see it. I think I think that really I kind of think that the Eagles just stack up really well against them. I think that the best offensive player on the Broncos is actually their offensive lineman Quinn Miners, and
Okay.
I don't and
All
I
right.
don't and I don't think that I don't think that he'll have anything for Jalen Carter. So I don't really know what the path to victory for Denver is, other than turning the Eagles over a bunch of times. Which I guess if Jalen Hurts is going to force feed his way into Patrick Surtain's window is possible. I don't necessarily see that happening, but yeah, I think that that's going to be like probably a two to three score victory, and it kind of just like rights the ship. And it's like, all right, yes, the Eagles still are the Eagles. Last year's 2-2, like we said, the sky is falling. This year's 2-2. It's just like, okay, when's this train getting on the tracks? And it'll get
Look,
on the tracks in week 5, because this is when the Eagles are really going to start to roll.
let's do this though, right? Eagles Bucks, close loss,
If we're
right?
lucky,
Close loss,
close
right?
loss.
Okay. Back home, Broncos Eagles, close win.
You think close win? I think a
I
spank.
I no. I think that because we come back off that and the Bucks team fights hard. I think we come back. Philadelphia feels good again. I just think close loss, close win.
Okay.
I would not be. I wouldn't want to be a better either game. Really, I wouldn't want to be. Right. So we check those both off. Okay. Then you get Eagles Giants. That game, everyone's going to be going, well, God, is this Eagles team even good? Like, because, we don't think the Bucks are good. Not really the Broncos are good either. And you sit there and you go, well, these teams that we thought that weren't good, it's close, right? And they absolutely spanked the Giants. That's what I think. At home, I don't care. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so it's a short week, Thursday night football in New York, and yeah, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. I mean, they're going to be facing the bones of Russell Wilson or a rookie quarterback. It's I don't even think
Or Jameis.
I don't even
Jameis
think
is
it's
there.
I guess they could be facing Jameis. For the sake of speed and discussion, I mean, these 3 weeks at Giants, at Vikings, home versus Giants. I mean, that's dub going into the bye week. You're facing what could be 3 straight rookie quarterbacks. You're definitely going to be getting one effective rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy. You're going to be getting a not good quarterback and a not great team in New York. Either way, now I do think New York's defensive line is going to be really, really talented. I've always been a Dexter Lawrence guy. I think Brian Burns is really good. I think Thibodeau's really good. So, and I'm pretty sure they drafted a guy too. So they're going to be really formidable in that
Can
front. But like there's no even real point in breaking it down. Giants, Vikings, Giants, win.
okay, but let's do this. Can I play at devil's advocate?
Please.
Yes. Okay. So Broncos W, right? Yes, we agree. All right. So that takes you to 3-2. Eagles Giants W 4-2. Eagles Vikings not in Philly, in Minnesota.
Where they won their first Super Bowl.
I know, but let's just say we're feeling good because we are. We're feeling really good. 4-2. 4-2. I mean, we don't. The bye week isn't tomorrow, but it's coming up.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close. It is pretty close. I have not looked at the Minnesota schedule at all, but it just feels to me that WWL in Minnesota. The only reason why I'm saying this, playing devil's advocate, L here, and then you get the New York Giants at home in Philly right before your bye week, and you beat the New York Giants twice this year.
Twice every year.
I know, but Minnesota could be a bump.
I mean, maybe
I
I'm
just
not. I'm
wanted.
not. I can't. I can't, in good faith, choose a rookie quarterback to go against Vic Fangio and what we've seen of this Eagles defense, and
I would
and
never.
and try and stack up with the points. I don't care if he has the best receiver in the league or not.
I don't want to do that. I don't want. I'm with you, but I'm saying 4 W's in a row, and then coming off the bye to play Green Bay. We just need to have the discussion. We can, maybe August comes around, and we talk about the schedule again.
Okay.
But I kind of have that L. We travel out to Minnesota, to their stadium. We still have a great record. Bye week. I love, by the way, off the bye week, Philly out to Green Bay. W.
The wins keep coming, and this one is going to be the most personal and most satisfying win of the year after all the tush push bull crap that the Eagles have had to
Oh
traverse
crap!
these
Oh
past few
crap!
years. Yes, bull crap. And
Is
here's
it?
and here's why.
Here
Here's
we
why
go.
it's bull crap. Here's why it's bull crap. What's your favorite food?
Crickets.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food. Man, like give me a pizza, give me a burger.
All right, so let's roll with burger, right?
All right.
What if I told you that because this burger is so good that it can only be had by the wealthiest people in the world. Now, there are some things like that. There are some things that are only attainable for the wealthiest people in the world. Those things are yachts and private jets and shit like that. It's not a burger. It's not a burger. So your
All right.
favorite burger, if it can only be attained by the best people in the world, right? I'm sorry that the Eagles are so good at a play that your precious little Jacksonville Jaguars can't really replicate it. But here's where the main part of my burger theory comes into play. You said burger and pizza. So
Yeah.
I give you the best burger in the world. Or I give you it doesn't even have to be. I give you any burger in the world. And I lie straight to your face and say that this burger, that you can't have that burger because it is in fact a pizza. Now I'm saying, now this is the stupidest kind of analogy that I'm making, but that's how stupid what the Packers did about the tush push is. If they want to, if they want to actually create a constructive argument centered around the getting the tush push out of the game, it should not be because it causes injuries and is an injury risk to other people. When there's 4 years of evidence and empirical data that nobody's ever gotten hurt, the closest that anybody could have gotten to getting hurt is because Frankie Lugu decided to jump over the line trying to time snaps after the referees told him to stop. And commentators on the national broadcast are like, oh, I didn't know that the referees could reward the play or reward points on a play. Like, oh, you didn't know that yet? Because nobody else has been so stupid as to try and just go past what the refs are doing to time the freaking snap. It's never hurt anybody. It's never hurt anybody. Jason Kelsey puts himself in the owner's room and says, I will come out of retirement if I can play 60 offensive snaps of tush push a game. There's absolutely no reason for the tush push to be taken out of the game for the reasons that the Packers laid out. And the reasons that the Packers laid out are probably reasons that were force fed from Roger Goodell, reasons that are so asinine that Roger Goodell couldn't put his own stamp on it, and Roger Goodell couldn't have a team that has an actual front-facing owner sign off on that sort of proposal. So he gave it to the Packers with a little wink, wink, and I'm stealing this from Joe Giglio of WIP in Philadelphia. It was a great theory. He gives the Packers the draft this past year. A little wink, wink. Hey, submit this proposal for me. We didn't have the traction to get it banned in March. Oh, guess what? You don't have the traction to get it banned 2 months later. And I think a large part of that was Jason Kelsey and Jeffrey Lurie and their impassioned speeches about what you are presenting is wrong. And now what you're going to say, Jack, you're going to come on and tell me why it's not a football play and reasons why it's not a football play that make a lot more sense in the aggregate than what the Packers presented. I can't give you a burger and say you can't have it because it's a piece of pizza. The Eagles can't run the tush push for reasons that aren't part of the tush push and aren't part of its history.
So, what was that guy's argument again about the tush push?
That it's against player safety.
Against player safety. That's great. I appreciate that. So here's the thing. Back in 2017, they made this great rule, law, whatever you may call it, right? And the rule or law or whatever you would call it is that a defensive player cannot push another defensive player into the offensive player. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? That's what they did. And they made it as part of a special teams rule and part of a defensive rule. So you cannot take, I don't know, a safety or a linebacker or however they would play it. You cannot push that player into a center, into whatever. You cannot use them as a, I don't know, as a running back or as a quarterback into the offensive or defensive line. That's a rule, right?
Sure.
And so Philadelphia wants to use it as a rule because it wasn't made an offensive rule. And I'm fine with them keeping the rule. Let's keep it. Let's keep the play. But that's fine. Let me use, I don't know, Ed Reed, or let's use Ray Lewis and let him smash Ed Reed into the line, or vice versa. Let's make that rule. Let's bring linebackers and just have somebody that's a D end pull the D end off the line. We can do that, right? Pull them off the line and just smash them into the quarterback. How many quarterbacks do you have? I mean, quarterbacks will be carted off the field because this is the language that the NFL has not wanted. But the fact of the matter is that they want it only for offense. And the problem I have is that we don't like the NBA anymore. I mean, you and I, we can have a conversation about the NBA, but we really don't like it because you can't get in the 3-point shooter space. Right? That's the whole thing now,
It's a
right?
thing.
You can't get into 3-point shooter space because he kicks out and oh my god, his fingernail and okay, it's a problem. And we've created this whole language about the 3-point shooter space. And we're doing this now with the NFL. And we'll do it in baseball and we'll find another way to do it in other sports. And the argument back and forth and back and forth, and the fans don't have a fun. That's what's going to happen here. Get rid of the tush push because the defense can't do it. That's if the defense can do it, let's have brains left on the field. I want to see it. Let's see Ray Lewis go up against Jalen Hurts, push on the line, and smash their heads together. But Ray Lewis doesn't play anymore. But let's see it. Let's see another guy like that. And I guarantee you, quarterbacks would no longer want to participate in that action. They would not. Absolutely not want to play with the Junior Seos, with the Ray Lewises. I mean, they would absolutely lose their helmets. They would, albeit, choose another play. You know they would. We both know they would. How about this? Jeremiah Trotter. Forget it. Jeremiah would smash heads. You know that. I met him. right?
I mean, while I might disagree with your point in the aggregate, it's a lot better of an argument what the Packers laid out, lying about the history of the play. Like, what argument are we making here? You're making an argument that can be like absolutely constructed into an argument. So if the fake
Me,
owner of the
me.
Packers or if Roger Goodell, who might have been spearheading this whole thing, has to construct a lie while you, Jack Neary, are creating a much more real argument centered around the fact, even if I disagree on it, even if I think that Fred Warner pushing Nick Bosa won't do a damn thing to Jordan Mailata. I don't care. And no, I still think that probably the only real inherent risk to quarterbacks in the play is the Frankie Luvu coming over the top, where it's still Jalen Hurts is getting under that anyway. They're protecting their own heads. So no,
It's the
you're
thought.
creating a real argument. What the Packers did was not create a real
Okay.
argument. And when that not real argument is exposed, you get the hands of the league. Look at the teams who voted. Look at the teams who voted to take out the play. Every single team who plays the Eagles this year voted to take it out except for the Lions. We don't play the AFC East. All four teams in the I'm sorry. We play the Bills on the 18th game cycle. The other three teams in the AFC East vote against us. I don't know who Jason Kelsey might have swayed out of it. Even but like I said, the Bills voted against it. The Bills voted against the tush push, and they're the only other team who effectively runs it in any sort of similar sort of fashion. So no, I don't think that there's going to be brains all over the field from all these quarterbacks. There's not all these quarterbacks. There's two. There's Jalen Hurts and there's Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the most freak of nature freaking quarterback I've ever seen. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles have perfected the art of protecting this play that goes for 1 yard. There's not high impact banging of anything. It's really kind of just collision and immovable force meets movable object, except the Eagles the Eagles irresistible force is moving that object. That's the only thing.
Well,
The only I'm sorry for cursing. The only inherent risk to the play is bozos like Frankie Louvu who think that they can time the snap and go over the top. But Jalen Hurts is already underneath that going over the top anyway.
well, there is risk of the center. There is risk of the defensive
Is
tackle.
there risk to the
They
center?
take a risk.
Is the center who popularized it and the center who did it for 3 years before Cam Jurgens this year said if he could run that play every offensive snap, he would come out of retirement. He would come out of retirement for a team that won the Super Bowl the year after he left.
I'm not sure he could spell his name. Jason Kelsey's not a smart man. Okay.
He's a rich man. He's a rich
Let's
man
not
with 4 beautiful girls and a beautiful wife.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. George Foreman named all of his sons George, all 7 of them. Now, I'm not going to say he's a smart guy. I'm going to say he can fight. I'm going to say he can argue.
George
Both
Foreman
of those things.
was
Those are
paid
facts.
to get shocked in the face. That's different.
So is Jason Kelsey.
Like, yes, football's physical, but you're wearing a helmet and you're not paid to punch people in the face.
The tush push is a certain thing.
The tush push is an active genius. If you want to take away the single most effective example of everything in the sport, then
rugby. Do I want to take away rugby?
Why is it rugby? Jordan Mailata, the preeminent rugby player of the NFL, said that it has nothing to do with the principles of rugby. So we can shut that down right there. If you
how many years has he played rugby?
A lot. He was
guy? Okay, so he's played a lot of years rugby and doesn't even understand rugby.
It's nothing like rugby. It's nothing like rugby. Rugby is a lined up. Rugby is a lined up, head up game. This is going down.
Lined up, head down. Just trying to figure it out.
They are lined up and they are standing up in a head up position. Football, especially this, is just gaining leverage. That's the only thing. If you're going to take away the single most effective example of everything in the sport, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes.
Wait, pause. Just a minute.
Saquon Barkley, take him off the Eagles, I guess. Sorry.
Wait. It's gained leverage. That's what we said, right? It's
That's
gained
all the Eagles
leverage.
do is get the leverage.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
never hurt
It's
anybody. It's
gained
never hurt
leverage.
anybody.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm just trying to get it from it. It's gained leverage, not given leverage. Because given leverage means that, you know, if you're gaining the leverage against a defender, then you won. Given leverage means that the defender can do differently. So I'm saying, like, the defender doesn't have the absolute
Jack, they wouldn't
integrity
be able to do
of
it
the
anyway. The
offense.
Eagles' offensive line is the most dominant group of maulers you've seen in your
That's not the
life.
point. They can't do it. They can't do it because it's illegal on the
They can't do it
defense.
because they're not talented enough to.
No. They can't do it because it's
No, they
illegal
can't do it
on the
because they're not
opposite side.
talented enough to.
I cannot. No, I cannot. As a defender, I cannot push another defender into the offense. That's an NFL rule. That's the problem here. If it was legal on the
How?
defensive end,
No.
hold on,
How
this is
is that
true.
the problem here
I would
when the
allow it.
problem here is allegedly safety, which is not a problem here?
Who said it was about safety?
The Packers. The entire proposal was about safety.
Okay. Well, I don't agree with the Packers.
Well, that's what the proposal
but I do
was.
agree with the
I
rule.
can't give you a hamburger and tell you can't have it because it's a piece of pizza. You can't take away the tush push
Okay,
for reasons that the tush push has not caused.
So what you're doing right now is lobbying for me to lobby for the Packers. Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm actually lobbying for you to say, yeah, the Packers' proposal's stupid. If they had proposed what I'm proposing, maybe it gets more legs.
Okay, so we're both going to work for the Packers to lobby against this rule.
What?
Yeah, I get it. That's what we're doing. We're both going to lobby for the Packers against this rule. The right way. Not the wrong way. That's what we're doing.
Why would you feel any better about the removal of something over a stern, flat out lie? Why would that make you feel any better?
So what I would do is I would lobby for any defensive player to push any defensive player into an offensive player. And then the offensive players would also have that same lobby so that we could just smash our heads and push our heads into each other. And then eventually that rule would be outlawed. Done. It's boring. It sucks. And we move on. We all agree. Offensively and defensively. Let's get past the first game on this bye week. Detroit, Philly. How you feel about that?
So you got the NFC Championship game that never was. The Lions last year decimated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but there's no excuse for what happened in that divisional round playoff game against the Commanders. There's just no excuse at all. Rookie quarterback, you're at home, you give up 45 points. It's just really, really, really unfathomable stuff. And that was the year, man. That was the year for them because you lose Aaron Glenn, but more importantly, you lose Ben Johnson. And we have no evidence that Dan Campbell is any more than what Ed Orgeron was without the ring. We have no evidence. Dan Campbell is an amazing motivational coach. He's an awesome meat and potatoes football guy that anybody that would ever play for him would run through a wall for it. That deserves something to be said. He has completely changed the culture of the most inept NFL franchise aside from the Browns of my lifetime. And something needs to be said for that. The offensive scheme and what really turned around the Lions was Dan Campbell's vision to promote Ben Johnson. And now that Ben Johnson's gone, and Ben Johnson could have been gone last year. He could have been gone. He could have taken the Commanders. He could have coached Jaden Daniels. Now that would have been
Ben Johnson. Oh, just let me. He's the only coach that left there,
no.
right?
Aaron Glenn left too.
Yeah. So now it's Dan
It's
Campbell.
Dan Campbell. It's Dan Campbell with 2 new appointed coordinators, and Dan Campbell's never been the scheme guy. Not for that offense, not for that defense. He's the one running around the room with surveying everything and keeping guys in line and making sure people are part of the culture. And you can say, oh, Liam, the Eagles are kind of operating under the same guys. Okay. Sirianni's been to 2 Super Bowls. Sirianni's won 1. Dan Campbell's been to 0 Super Bowls. Dan Campbell's won 0. And the difference between Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell is Nick Sirianni has developed one really, really amazing trump card that goes beyond all of his coordinators. And it's the thing we just talked about. It's the tush push. So no matter who's coming in on offensive side of the ball, it doesn't really matter on the defensive side of the ball. It's amazing to have somebody like Vic Fangio. But no matter who's calling plays for the Eagles, they are effectively able to operate with 4 downs and 9 yards. That's a testament to Sirianni. And guess who has the second best offensive line in the NFL? The Lions. Guess who has a 6'6" quarterback who is more mobile than people want to give him credit for? The Lions. Guess who could run the tush push at a very effective rate if they wanted to? The Lions. Guess who's the one team that the Eagles play this year that didn't vote against the tush push? The Lions.
Is that right? Philly wins at home. I like that pick, by the way. I think that you're spot on with Campbell. He's a fine coach, but let's see how good he is when people leave. Right?
There's the culture and motivational.
Sirianni's done well with people.
Yes.
Left.
There's the culture and motivational coaches. There's the schematic coaches, and then there's the perfect blend of the two. I would say that Sean McVay is the perfect blend of the two. I would say that someone like Kyle Shanahan strays a little too far on the schematic side, and I'd say that somebody like Dan Campbell strays at least. I guess we don't have the evidence yet without Ben Johnson and Aaron.
We're gonna get there.
And I'd guess to think that he's closer to that Ed Orgeron style of motivational cultural coach without that kind of blend in the middle. I think Sirianni's closer to that blend without really being on the schematic side. But for someone like McVay, who perfectly balances schematic and motivational rah-rah, I'm not sure if we're going to get that out of Dan Campbell.
And look, Ben Johnson.
He might be all scheme. He might be another Shanahan. He might be all scheme and not really get the emotional IQ, EQ aspect of football. We're gonna find out.
Ben Johnson didn't go to Washington and had a chance to take whoever he wanted. And now he waited a year. Oh, I think I'll wait. And then he went to Chicago. And it's like, brother, like you didn't have the guts, the chutzpah to pick your guy.
Well, I mean, he effectively did. I mean, he might have honestly picked Caleb Williams a year ago. I've been saying. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of expected that he was eventually going to be the Bears head coach.
But he could have been the voice in the room. He could have walked in, been that guy.
I don't think that's his personality. I don't think.
But he could have walked in. He could have been like, I'm gonna be the guy. I'm gonna walk into Washington and go Caleb Williams, but never did. And a year later, he goes, I think I'm a little Chicago. You can't walk into Chicago and act like that. That's like walking to Philly and go, I'm an Eagles. Cannot do that. You're from Philly. I'm north of Philly. If you walk into a bar and go, I think I'll take a Yingling Walker.
That's fair.
You should get smacked in the face.
That's fair, and that kind of reminds me of kind of like Sirianni's first, few months as an Eagle. But he was a complete outsider and a complete unknown. Those are both things that Ben Johnson aren't to the Bears. Ben Johnson's been in the division whipping their ass for years. So he's not an outsider and he's not an unknown. And in fact, he's a direct rob Peter to pay Paul because you take him from the biggest and best team in your division. So I thought,
But Campbell will kill. Campbell will walk up to him. You should not have gone. He should have went to Washington and not in the division. Campbell will walk in and handshake him to death. That's what's gonna
well, that
happen. It's
I
not
mean
gonna
that's
go
fine.
well.
Campbell might walk in and handshake him to death. Guess what doesn't win football games? The coach's handshake. You know what does win football games? The more talented quarterback who's playing in Chicago and the better offensive mind who's coaching in Chicago.
Oh, oh, you think it's a better quarterback? Okay.
I got the Bears winning the 2025 NFC North.
Oh my God, we're gonna have conversations down the road. I love it. Eagles versus Dolphins.
Dallas.
Is
Yeah,
that
we
what
don't
it
have
is?
Dolphins this year. After Detroit is Dallas again at Dallas.
Okay, all right,
Maybe you wrote DOL instead of DAL.
it's fine. DAL. Eagles, Dallas, doesn't matter. Loss, right?
Doesn't matter, loss. Excuse you. I've been through years and years and years of splitting 1-1 with the Cowboys to
Yeah, but I'm right
finally,
here.
finally beat
No.
them twice last year. You know, some years I don't even need like the finality of whatever happens in the playoffs and shit. I just want to beat the Cowboys twice, and it never really happens. It happened last year, and we won the Super Bowl. We're still markedly better than them. I don't care that it's in Dallas. We're in midseason form at this point. At this point, I have us winning 6 straight games with the bye week nestled in there. Dallas is toast. I think they're probably closer to the 13th best team in the conference than they are the 5th. And I think that the Eagles walk into Dallas, beat them for the 4th straight time, and have those stupid, sorry fans with their tails tucked between their legs again, going home, wondering when Jerry Jones is going to reference his mortality again and reference how he needs to get another Super Bowl victory, but do every single thing possible to not ensure that Super Bowl victory again. It's my favorite, favorite, favorite part of the year. It's my favorite part of the year.
I crickets you. Do you hear the crickets? I did that. I'm gonna honest. Eagles fan, I know that you're going wild here. Broncos, W. Giants, W. Vikings, loss. It feels like a loss. It does feel like a loss. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. The big hat. That's fine. That's fine. I can deal with the big hat. Giants, you beat the Giants because they're a joke. You look ridiculous with the big hats. I'll continue anyway. Eagles, Green Bay, W. Eagles, Detroit, W. What kind of hat is that? Oh, that's a real Eagles. Okay. But Dallas, in Dallas, this far into the season, I think you take it out. My opinion. Continue. Who you got next?
Next is good old Ben Johnson, and we got the Chicago Bears coming to town for a nice little Black Friday football game.
On the road. You're on a road
No,
trip.
no. It's at home.
You're okay.
Home against Chicago.
All right.
And yeah, I mean, hey, second year quarterback who I'm pretty high on, first year head coach who I'm pretty high on, revamped offensive line that I like a lot. Doesn't matter. I mean, the Bears aren't coming to the link and beating the Eagles. They're just not. I like the weapons on the
Nope.
Bears. I love Colston Loveland. I love him, and I know when we were talking in our draft preview how much I really liked Colston Loveland. So I think the Bears had a great offseason. I think that they made the right head coaching hire. I of course think that they have the right quarterback, but on whatever day of November Black Friday falls on, it's just not going to be their day. Like I said, I do have them winning the 2025 NFC North. Maybe you see them again in January. Who knows? But Caleb Williams is not coming into the link his first time at the link. Ben Johnson's first time at the link as a head coach, and he's not going to come in and win. So that's 8 straight wins I have for the Eagles.
8 straight
straight
wins. You feel good
I
about
feel
that,
great
right?
about it. I mean, yeah, hey. We're we're we're, we're 8-2. We're 8-2. Going to the sunshine of Los Angeles. A nice little trip out to Lala. Hell yeah.
And
And we lose. We lose to the Chargers. I was losing on Monday Night Football to the Chargers. Now it's almost effectively a mini bye week because you're going from Black Friday to Monday. So you get like that 10, 11 day stretch off. But,
we
we lose. I
lose.
mean, hey, what are you going to do?
I love
I
it.
love
And we
Justin Herbert.
lose.
I think Jim Harbaugh is an amazing, amazing coach, and he transcends college and pros in ways that not many football coaches have been successful at doing. Um, I when I saw the interview or the soundbite of Jim Harbaugh the other week, and he was like, you know what, he was either dreaming about it or he woke up one morning. He's like, man, I woke up and I was just like, oh man, I gotta get Justin Herbert a Super Bowl. I was like, oh crap, like Jim Harbaugh's like motivation and an internal sense of like get it doneness is just truly unbelievable to me. So I mean, like I think at that point, the Eagles are riding high. You're on a serious, serious high horse. You need a little bit of a humbling, and not a better place to take a humbling than in SoFi Stadium. Again, you're in La La Land. You can go out. It's not going to be fucking cold when you walk out of the stadium after the loss. It's going to be nice. It's going to be warm. You can reminisce in the fact that the Rams have never beaten you there. Only the Chargers have. So everything's fine. Everything's fine. At that point, we're going to be 10-3, looking like the team that everybody thinks that we're going to be, and we're fine.
Well,
Everything's good.
maybe 10-3. Maybe 10-3. I'll tell you what. I no one likes this take, and I'm gonna make it all year long. Justin Herbert to me is not a lot different than Colin Kaepernick. Justin Herbert, super athletic. Colin Kaepernick, super athletic. Cannot throw like kind of the easy pass. They can't. They throw absolute 30, 35-yard strikes. No touch passes, though. Kaepernick and Herbert do not do that. No, they, not. They don't remind you.
I think uh,
Both quarterbacks. How about this? Both quarterbacks do not have that Jalen Hurts to Devonta Smith touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. They don't have it. They can't do it. I'm very sorry. Do it in a big game, then we'll find it. But they throw absolute darts. But they don't have that just over the top and you went like Bo Nix versus Cincinnati. Remember that pass? Bo Nix just kind of threw that over the on
well,
Monday Night Football, and you went, "Oh well."
I can't agree with you about Justin Herbert. There, we've seen the dude throw some absolute freaking nukes. I mean,
Darts,
do you remember?
darts, not
Do you remember
pillows.
the? You
Give me a
remember the
pillow.
Jalen Guyton one? I think was it against the Colts or I don't know who it was against, but I mean, like that was not a dart. That was one of the most beautiful chimney shots I've ever seen in my life.
I just need pressure pillows. That's all I want. That's what we're gonna call some of our segments, right? We're gonna call them pressure pillows, right?
Well,
You're under pressure, you throw
Josh
that
Allen
pillow.
doesn't throw pressure pillows either, but I trust that guy to make the throw that Jalen Hurts made to Devontae Smith. I think Justin Herbert will throw too. And for what it's worth, I mean, I don't think that Colin Kaepernick had a fine deep ball. He wasn't as good at it as the other three guys were mentioning, but he was better at it than say Jimmy Garoppolo, who missed that same throw to Emmanuel Sanders in Super Bowl 54.
Great deep ball, but he was more of a Vernon Davis, like 35-yard, absolute missile, hands, almost like a Shannon Sharp throw. Like you throw it to Shannon Sharp and you're good, right? Like right here and you're good. But just the pillow, 45 breadbasket doesn't have it. I just don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong, but Philadelphia will lose that game. You're right. Let's move on. Who they got
Next
next?
is home against the Raiders. And I really like what the Raiders have done. I think that they've really kind of like stabilized themselves. And what one thing it's one thing for teams like the Raiders and the Lions were in this position a couple of years ago, and the Browns look like they could be coming out of that position, even though they really haven't, and that's for reasons that we don't really need to get into. When you are that downtrodden and miserable of an organization and culture and franchise, there's no like worst to first in you. And every year in the NFL, there's a team that finishes last in their division that wins their division the next year. There's no worst to first for teams like the Lions and teams like the Browns and teams for like where the Raiders have historically been for these past, say, 7 to 10 years or so. You have to
Yeah, you're right.
stabilize yourself. You have to go from absolute crap to base level of average before you can take that next step. You can't go you can't go from bad to great. You got to go from bad to good, good to great. You
Yeah, you have to build a little bit of a
there's
base,
there,
right?
there's steps to take. Now, I mean, you can do what Tom Brady did and go to Tampa and prove that theory wrong. We're talking about Tom Brady. We're talking.
Wait, what about Baker Mayfield?
Well, I mean, at that point, the culture was established for the Bucks.
Well,
Um,
well,
what I like what the Raiders did is like we're not beating the Chiefs. Maybe we're not beating the Chargers. Hell, maybe we're not beating the Broncos. Maybe we're still the fourth best team in this division. But we're not an absolute laughing stock to the rest of the league anymore. Maybe not to the rest of the conference. Hopefully not to the rest of the league anymore. Maybe that fourth place in the division is 7-10 because you actually have a good quarterback and a good coach who aren't just going to throw away games for you and just lose you games before you start. You're not in a rebuilding era anymore. You're in a stabilizing the culture era because rebuilding would insinuate that you're trying to get better to win. I don't think that the Raiders are trying to get better to win. I just think that they're trying to get better, period. Because I think they know that they're not going to win. I think that they just need to be like, okay, let's be a respectable franchise. We have Geno Smith, who's a very good quarterback. Not a great quarterback, a very good one. We have Pete Carroll, who historically is a very good coach. Maybe not a great one, historically a very good one. We have an all-time young talent at the tight end position that Geno can just force feed the ball to. We think we have an all-time young talent at the running back position. Maybe I don't think that, but the Raiders clearly do. By the way, guess who is a part-time now owner of the Raiders? Tom Brady. So maybe Tom Brady kind of thinks of it as, oh, I can make I whatever I touch turns to gold. Tom, it did not go that way in the press booth. I don't think it's going to go that way from an ownership perspective for you. It's just I just don't think so. But I mean, I like what the Raiders have done, but there's no say. I don't know. Give me a let's think of a decent example here. Oh gosh, the Vikings. The Vikings are historically a very respectable franchise. They're not.
yeah, no, for
They're
sure.
not a
Yeah,
they're not a
absolutely.
completely downtrodden, miserable
Nope,
franchise.
not
They
jokes.
they
Yeah,
they didn't have to go from bad to good and then go from good to great. They've had great
they kind of middled.
they've middled and they've had great years, but
Yeah,
they've never gone from bad to great. They've always been good and then they've had a couple great years. So
the Vikings always have a fan base that roots for them and has a reason to
yes.
root for them.
So when it comes to teams like the Raiders, they've done and taken the right steps to just be like, okay, hey, we're a team again. We're not up for
So,
relegation in the Premier League anymore.
let's kind of do this real quick. Eagles, Chargers out in LA, right? L.
L.
Right? Eagles win. Eagles win. Right? Eagles win out
No,
in
Eagles
LA.
lose to the Chargers, beat the Raiders.
Okay. They lose the Chargers, they beat the Raiders. Right? Okay, but that's going to be a tough game against the Raiders. Like, it's not going to be like a blowout. Like you said, Pete Carroll, like they have a real idea now.
Right. The Eagles have never beaten Pete Carroll. Maybe they did when he was the head coach of the Jets. I have no idea, but or
It does feel like
wherever
a
he was
cover
before.
game,
The
though,
Eagles
right?
haven't beaten the Seattle Seahawks since like the year 2007, which means we have at least not beaten Pete Carroll in his entire Seahawks tenure up until now. So yeah.
So it does certainly feel like a loss by the Raiders, right?
Oh yeah, no, the Eagles are going to win that game. It's not the 21 Raiders that you can just pencil in a win anymore. You might be able to pencil in the win, but you're going to have to fight to get there.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, so let's move on. Eagles, Commanders.
In Washington, I have us winning again. I have us beating Jaden Daniels and kind of at that point putting the final finishing bow on the NFC East. And at that point, all you have left to play for is the 1 seed. And so right now we're at 12-3. And when you look at the state of the NFC, I have the Eagles at 12-3. Usually in a 17-game-ish season, roughly 13 wins is what you want to win the division. So I already have us at 12. But you look at some of the other teams around the NFC that you think are going to be competing for that 1 seed. Do you really think San Fran's going to be coming back up to where they were 2 years ago? I don't. Do we think?
So, I'm not a San Fran guy, but they do have the easiest schedule in league.
Sure, but I don't.
So maybe.
I mean, maybe. So, maybe I don't. I think Brock Purdy's kind of been figured out for what it's worth. I think the contract and the no trade clause are ridiculous.
I don't think he's good.
I mean,
I think he's okay.
I mean, like, hey, maybe you have to move on from Debo, but you're paying George Kittle and Fred Warner and paying Brock Purdy. Like, I don't know. It just is a signaling of different times for the Niners. I don't really see it with them. I think the Rams could be, better than they were last year, but like how much marginally so. They're going to have losses on their schedule. You go to the NFC South, nobody in that division is going to be vying for the 1 seed. You go to the NFC North, and we've already talked about how we think that the Lions are.
How about no one thinks about this, but they did add talent. How about Dallas? They added talent. It's interesting.
You really want me to entertain that? You really want me to entertain that? I think, like I said, I think they're closer to the 13th best team in a 16-team conference than they are the 5th. They have.
I will bring a better argument, but yes, I do want.
They have the most uninspiring coach ever, and this is a team that employed Jason freaking Garrett. Like I am a Dak defender. I like Dak more than any Eagles fan, especially any Eagles fan living within a 50-mile radius of Philadelphia. The team just isn't good. The team's just not that good.
We'll get back to them later on. And I'm not a Dallas guy. I'm not a Dallas guy. But I do have a strong argument for Dallas later on.
A strong argument for them to be the Philly. 1 seed?
Yes. I do. We'll get there. Not this podcast.
God, I'm not sure if I'm showing up on the podcast.
Just you'll show up. You'll show up because you love arguments. What do you mean? I'm not sure I'll show up. You'll show up because you enjoy it.
I'm gonna stare at you with like oh my god. He's really trying to sell. He's really trying to sell. Ice to a pepper.
And the whole dude. By the way, I would stand in the middle of Philadelphia and say the same shit. They can kill me. They probably would, but I would say it, and I'm honest. And Philly would enjoy the fact that I was honest.
They would enjoy the fact that you're going to be wrong a lot more. But yeah, sure.
They would stab me, but they would deal with me. All right. We have 3 games left, right?
2.
2 games.
At Buffalo. Week 17. Buffalo is going to be competing for a top seed. And like I said, the Eagles are already, at the 12-win mark competing for a top seed themselves. This is a major, major game, a huge game, because I think both teams are still going to be obviously playing their starters. I got a question for you. Who are the 2 teams that Josh Allen's never beaten?
Who are they?
The Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, Josh Allen plays for the Buffalo Bills, so the team organically that he's never ever beaten is the Eagles, and he has had 2 attempts at it. The Eagles had beaten him once in Philadelphia, and the Eagles had beaten him once in Buffalo. I want to say one of those games was on Thanksgiving. Maybe it was another week in November. I have a vivid memory of one of those games being Thanksgiving, but I also feel like I would definitively know that if that were the case, so I have no idea. Either way, this will be Josh Allen's 3rd time playing the Eagles, and it's going to be the best Eagles team that he ever played. but it also might be the best Bills team that this Eagles team has ever played. We're
Here we
in
go.
Orchard Park. It's either the last days of December or the earliest days of January. There's going to be 19 feet of snow on the field, and there's going to be
19.
there's going to be an enormous amount of snow on the field, and I have an awesome take. And you know what?
I love it.
Yeah, it's actually a really funny, ironic, awesome take. The team, the
All right, I
team
love it.
that's been the single best at stopping the tush push, and not that they've been good at it, but like in their attempts at stopping the tush push, the team that's actually been the most successful is the team that proposed the stupid lie to get it out of there. Is the Packers. Now maybe that came from Roger Goodell. We'll never have any idea. We'll never have any idea. The Packers and Kenny Clark have played the best defense against the tush push in the 4-year history of the tush push. The second best defense against the tush push in the history of the tush push will be that 19 feet of snow in Buffalo. They won't be able to get the traction and leverage they want, but one person who will be able to get the traction and leverage they want is the 6'5" absolute demon athlete named Josh Allen, who came from a different galaxy not known as Earth. And the Eagles.
So wait, hold on. So the second best against the tush push is the snow. The snow is very good against the tush push.
It's going to be this year. I mean, hey, I
The snow could be tush push.
which says enough about the defenders. I mean, that should tell you all you need to know. Defenders, get better, please. I mean,
Yeah, the inanimate object that
Jalen
makes
Hurts
people
when
not
Jalen Hurts can't rightfully get
athletic.
his proper footing, that's what's gonna derail the tush push. It has nothing to
Yeah,
do.
when the athletes are worse.
It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with the forces on the other side.
Athletes,
It has nothing to do with the forces on the other side.
no. So when your car in the snow is better, right? No, athletes in the snow also not better. So that's how the tush push is stopped. Weather.
I mean, it seems pretty correlative, no?
It seems nothing to do with football.
So build a dome. So then put every stadium in a dome. That's another one of my takes. I think all stadiums should have domes. No more outside football games. But if we're gonna have outside football,
what? The man from Philadelphia wants no.
I want a dome on the link immediately. But if we're gonna have weather impacting the football games, like you said, athletes aren't the same in the snow. So if athletes aren't the same in the snow, that inherently means that the plays that the athletes run are probably not going to be the same in the snow.
It's ridiculous.
That's a correlation. The snow in Buffalo will save the Bills, and by golly, if there's a freaking heat wave that weekend, the Bills aren't walking out of there with a win. But I'll give the Eagles the loss.
All right.
12-3, 12-4, 12.
Okay. 12-4. All right, I got you down. 12-4. Commanders Eagles last game of the year.
Commanders Eagles last game of the year. The Eagles are coming off of a loss that they don't want to be coming off of because they thought that would be the win that wrapped up the 1 seed. But what it really did, without me being able to look at it and know who they play in Week 17, the Rams. The Rams are going to lose in Week 17 to whoever the hell they play, and I'm actually going to look that up right now.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, we got
cheating. Schedule cheating.
Listen. It doesn't all have to be about the Eagles here. We're an inclusive place. We like to talk about other teams.
That's right. That's right. We're an inclusive place.
We like to talk about other teams. Their second to last game is Monday Night Football in Atlanta. So they're definitely losing that game against the Falcons, flying across country, prime time. They're going to lose that game to the Falcons. And that's going to put us both at 12-4. I'm sorry.
It is interesting that the games
that's going to put them at 11-5, and the Eagles at 12-4 through 16 games. And you look back at that Week 3 win that the Eagles had over the Rams, that direct tiebreaker. The Rams can't come back from an effective 2-game lead with only 1 game to go, and the Eagles get to sit all their nice little guys in Week 18 and get ready for a nice little 3-week layoff heading into the divisional round of the playoffs. The Eagles will lose in Washington because nobody plays. They're going to lose their last 2 games of the year, but still get the 1 seed. at 12-5 in a down year for the NFC, and that Week 3 win over the Rams will be the tiebreaker that nets them the 1 seed.
So 12 and
12 and
5.
5, the first back-to-back division winner in the NFC East in 19 years.
Okay. I like that. First back-to-back NFC's winner in 15 years. 19 years.
Since the Eagles,
Who was the last
the Eagles in
back-to-back?
04-05.
Oh God, that brings me back because I went to Lehigh then.
Really?
Yeah, man, I'm from Northeast. You know, I'm from Northeast, and I used to go to Lehigh and travel and hang out and watch McNabb and Jeremiah Trotter and all those guys. My buddy was a big Eagles fan. You know, you're my buddy, big Eagles fan. So we used to travel down there and watch Eagles and stuff like that. And I used to watch Bills games, and I traveled the whole corridor. And so yeah, that brings me back.
I'm happy to bring you back.
No, but yeah, it was really nice. It was a great year. McNabb, remember McNabb, Westbrook,
Oh yeah,
all those teams. Brent
teams.
Selleck.
Brent Selleck. Hey, he still kicks around. He still kicks around my parts. I saw him at the bank about a year ago.
No, you didn't. All right, all right. Brent Selleck, he was awesome. All right, so what do we got? 12 and
12 and
5.
5. They're gonna lose 2 of their first 4. They're gonna lose to the Chargers in Week 14 after an 8-game win streak. They're gonna lose their last 2, but still end up with the 1 seed.
Still, and all right. So the Philadelphia Eagles are going to end up with the 1 seed. Liam Segarian, everybody. Eagles 1 seed. We're still trying to find out if he wants to play fantasy football with us.
You'll have to ask again next week for the same answer.
That's fine. That's fine. Do you know how I got married?
Hey,
I kept.
we like persistence, man. Faces get cases. That's what they say in the food service.
That's right. I kept asking the same question, and eventually, I was able to get the right answer. All right, Liam. Any final thoughts?
I mean, that
We'll end on final
was a lot of
thoughts.
fun. I don't really usually do season predictions this early in the off season, so of course, we get to see what happens with the rest of free agency, training camp. I'm sure we'll, hear about some courses of direction rechange when some teams unfortunately suffer injuries in camp. And of course, it's all a crapshoot, especially in a sport like the NFL, where the injury rate is 100% guaranteed. So, we're all just out here thinking about what we can do with the schedule. I mean, nothing's perfect. It's just a fun little snapshot, great little exercise. I hate the fact that I have us losing to Tampa Bay again, but until we beat them, I'm not going to go against history.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Fantasy Farm Sports, Liam Segarian, thank you so much for being on the pod with us every Thursday. It seems to be a trend. It's so much fun chatting and rapping with you. Big Philadelphia guy, PSN Network. Go Birds, baby. If we need to, we can amend, by the way. We're very close here. We can very much amend any single one of those games.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
We can amend those games, but right now we got them in brick. Guys, we'll see you next Thursday. New thoughts, new ideas. Jack's dad.